VA's Office of Blind Rehabilitation Services estimates there are approximately 130,000 veterans in the United States who are legally blind, and more than 1 million veterans who have low vision that causes a loss of ability to perform necessary daily activities. In this era of instant communication, where we get overwhelmed with data or facts that are useless to unsighted individuals, wouldn't it be great if we could count on news focused on real problems that impact the daily lives of veterans without sight? Introducing Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, an advanced informational portal designed by blind veterans specifically for blind and vision-impaired vets that, like them, are facing challenges every day. Hi, my name is Ben, and I know the frustration. I've struggled in day-to-day tasks for over 20 years since I lost my eyesight. One of my biggest challenges has always been trying to stay up to date with the latest information of my eye disease, local news, and the ever-changing technology. I wanted to be able to have one single site that merged all the data scattered, and that's why we created Wisdom for Blinded Vets. This is a portal that can be accessed via the web, a smartphone app, telephone, email, text messaging, or Amazon's Alexa. It integrates with readers such as JAWS or Apple's VoiceOver and various other tools to give you a seamless experience. This portal will keep us updated on a variety of topics and will share knowledge that can help make our lives easier and more fulfilled. Highlights of the topics covered on the portal include podcasts, events, news, blind rehab and training, information on the BVA and other groups, a list of coordinator and bros list, online groups to interact with fellow vets facing the same challenges, and much more. Give us a try. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about us, visit our website www.w4bv.org. If you're interested in sharing your knowledge, please consider becoming a contributor by logging into our portal and going to the contributor section for more information. Wisdom for Blinded Veterans, transforming blind veterans' lives.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show. The United States Department of Veterans Affairs is a cabinet-level executive branch department of the federal government, charged with providing lifelong health care services to eligible military veterans at the 170 VA medical centers in the United States. And that's where we come in. Live from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this is InSight to the VA. The VA is there to help us. Let's get started. Welcome to InSight to the VA. InSight to the VA. With your host, Benjamin Keeley.
Wow. Thank you very much, Keith. You always make us look good. I appreciate that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to InSight to the VA. This is Ben. I got some great guests. I got Vicki and I got Dave here. We're in the Fort Lauderdale studio, and we're going to bring you some more information. So I appreciate you coming back. Hey, Dave. How, Vicki? How you all doing?
Great.
Good,
Thanks.
Great.
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So you guys are both retired now, right?
Correct.
Yes.
How? Man, I wish I could get to that realm. So tell us a little bit. Let's start with you, Dave. How about telling a little bit about your background and, other than you and I are friends, which is a scary thing for you probably. But
yeah, I was just thinking that. Well, I started my blind rehab career after I graduated, I was working for the Michigan Commission for the Blind. I didn't like it, so I ended up going to New Zealand for 3 years and working in New Zealand, designing a rehab program there that wanted to emulate the United States. And then after that period of time, I went to West Haven, Connecticut at the VA hospital, worked for Blind Rehab Services, and was there for 7 or 8 years. And then I came down here to West Palm Beach when they started the program in 2000. And I've been here ever since and just retired last year.
Well, we appreciate you joining us on the show. And a little side note, David was one of my first instructors when I went to the rehab center in West Palm. So he tried to teach me. I don't know if he succeeded, but we'll find that out shortly. Vicki, thanks for joining us. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I started the VA career in Augusta, Georgia in 1999, and I was a rehab instructor, and we cross-trained in many skill areas. I was first involved with living skills, and then I cross-trained to manual skills, and then in 2000, we started the Computer Access Training Service, or CATS program, and I stayed in Augusta until 2008, where I then took a job in Charleston, South Carolina as a Visual Impairment Service Team Coordinator, or VIST Coordinator, which I serviced over 550 vets throughout the southeast part of South Carolina, all the way down into the southeast part of Georgia. And I retired in 2017 due to some medical conditions. And so I still have my veterans call me and ask questions about how to do this, that, or something else. So it's like a big family, and I really love each and every one of them.
Well, that's so cool. And thanks to both of you for your service to helping our veterans. And full disclosure, you guys are also volunteers for Wisdom for the Blind, which we appreciate. Dave and I do a show together called InSight to Travel. And Vicki, you're working in subscriber services, right?
Correct.
All right. So you guys are wondering, what are we going to talk about today? Well, you got two great guys that have been involved with the VA in the rehab centers. And we're going to talk a little bit about blind services in the rehab center and get into after that, a little into the VIST Coordinator and what the functions are. So I'm going to start off, and first question for you guys is going to go out to Dave. So Dave, what is the main function of the rehab centers?
Well, the main purpose of the rehab center is to help veterans to reintegrate into either the workforce or a school setting or just daily life skills after their accident that caused them to go blind or have some kind of low vision. So it could be anything from, traumatic brain injuries to strokes to heart attacks, but the common connection is something to do with their vision. So that's the purpose, and it's very individualized.
So the training is set up on profile that one veteran would need. Is that correct?
Right. There's some basic stuff that every veteran goes through, and every rehab center is a little bit different, but they're all basically the same basic skills and training. But then it gets more into the individual thing. So if a person's more interested in the iPhone, for example, they work on the iPhone and not necessarily Braille or cooking or anything like that. But they all get an introduction to all the skill areas.
That's very cool. Vicki, how many rehab centers do we have in the United States?
We have 11 throughout the United States, and we have one in Puerto Rico also.
All right. And you worked in the rehab center in
Augusta,
Georgia.
Georgia. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you like peaches?
Yeah, I taught all the skill areas for the most part, except the low vision, but it was very enjoyable to help the veterans get back to where they were before their visual impairment. And like I said, they were so appreciative of the things that we were teaching them. And really? I can do that? And so, yeah, it was kind of wonderful to see them come out of their shell.
Well, that's cool. So Dave, and your first one was in Connecticut, right?
Yes, West Haven, Connecticut.
So when you first started there, how many people were at the rehab center? And
We had a big center. We had 30 veterans in the regular program, and then in a separate building, there was a 15-bed clinic. And back in those days, the program went from 16 to 18 weeks long, where it was very regimented, and everybody did everything, and they followed a plan. It's changed since then, obviously.
oh, very cool. That's cool. So if a veteran wanted to get involved with the rehab centers, where would they go to? Would they go to a VIST coordinator? Would they call the centers directly? Would they talk to one of their bros? Vicki, what do you think?
No, the protocol for getting involved in a blind rehab center is to contact your VIST coordinator first, because there's certain things that have to be done. You've got to have a primary care physician report within the last 6 months. You got to get a chest x-ray along with a PPD test, and you need to have a hearing test, and your low vision exam needs to be done within a certain time too. So that way the referral, when you send it to the Blind Rehab Center, because we have 11 centers in the United States, the veterans can actually choose which center they would prefer to go to.
Very cool. And Dave, how does the veteran decide what path they want to go to? What would they like to achieve at the rehab center? How is that laid out?
Well, hopefully the VIST coordinator, when they do their assessment, they have an idea of what the veteran is looking for, and they put that in their report. But when the veteran comes into the program, the team coordinator meets with them, and they explain to them all the skill areas that we offer, and then everybody can try. We try to encourage everybody to try every skill area, and then go from that point. So they at least have an introduction to something that they don't know about.
So,
like Vicki was saying, sometimes people come in and they say, I don't want to cook, I'm blind. But then you give them a basic introduction, do a little skill area with them, and then next thing you know, they're like on the Food Network.
There you go. But so what you're saying is that the veteran gets exposed to the different topics that are available, and then the center writes a custom path for them and then analyzes how long that training would need to be.
Right. So in West Palm Beach, for example, the first week, everybody gets kind of an intro to all the different skill areas. And within that week, or at least by the second week, they have a IDCP meeting where all the instructors and the VIST coordinator have a meeting with the veteran, and they kind of go over their plan and try to individualize it at that point. So that
I remember when I've been to the rehab center in West Palm twice. I remember that assessment. They all looked at you. So like, I don't know if we can train Ben or not, but we'll try.
Yeah.
They did a good job. You were one of my instructors, so I guess I achieved something.
Exactly. You had the best.
So once that's done, then it goes into a day-to-day living. So, Vicki, most of the rehab centers, the veteran lives on site. Is that correct?
That is correct at this time.
Yeah.
If they don't or cannot, for some reason, go to a blind rehabilitation center, that's when the BROS, or Blind Rehab Outpatient Service Coordinator, which is referred by the VIST because it's due to inability to travel or just physical well-being or family, but sometimes the veterans cannot make it all the way to a blind center, and so the instruction is provided at the veteran's home.
And there are some day programs throughout the country too. Not many.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of a new thing they got going on. But there are some day programs that they run.
Didn't we see a lot of the that whole structure change during COVID? Because I know that in COVID they did more and more,
Video calls,
Zoom and stuff, video training and stuff like that. So that became a whole nother aspect of training. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it actually worked out pretty good to have those classes there. So the veteran's going to stay there, and if I'm not mistaken, there's nurses that watch after the veterans and make sure that all their medical needs are met at the same time. So it's kind of like checking under the hood. So you're getting evaluated by the eye clinic. You're getting evaluated also for your medicines and reviewing things like script talk and stuff like that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So it becomes a whole rechecking, making sure everything's fine-tuned and getting all that done at the same time.
It's pretty holistic. Covers all areas.
That's cool. I know when I was at the rehab center, we had the dining room service. You'd order your meals, and they were pretty good and brought up. So we ate in the dining area on the floor, and we also had movie night and popcorn, and so it became a fun environment. And I was able to meet with my brothers and sisters, and it was a great bonding situation. So what we're going to do is we're going to check into the studio and see what's happening over there and take a quick break. So right now we're with Vicki, Dave. This is Ben. We're inside to the VA, where we're talking about the rehab centers and a little bit about the roles of a VIST and a BROS. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org, and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind. Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend. You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking with us. This is Ben, and my guests today are Dave and Vicki, and we're coming to you from the Fort Lauderdale studios, and we're talking about the rehab centers of the VA and different things that are available to you as a veteran. So, guys, thanks for sticking with us. So, Dave, inside the rehab center, when I was there, I saw that there was a kitchen, a shop. We had a rec coordinator and then we also did exercising and walks and things like that. Is that pretty much in all the rehab centers?
Yeah, I think so. I think all the rehab centers are basically the same design. They do things a little bit different, of course, but they all have shops and kitchens that they work in, and they all have rec therapists. In Florida, we have a big blind golfers program here, of course, and we do fishing. We do the Florida thing with recreation. One thing I want to mention, Ben, you mentioned before the break about eating in the dining room, and I think this is really cool because this is a big concern when veterans come. They're always worried about hospital food not being so good. And in West Palm Beach, I don't know how the other VAs do it, but in West Palm Beach, you have a menu, and you can select 3 or 4 different types of entrees or side orders and desserts. So you have a selection that you can pick.
I agree. I think the way that the food was laid out, it was a menu. You could order a deli sandwich. You can order omelets, cereal. Each of the meals were well planned, and on top of that, they had a dietitian just to look over it. But I'm a big broccoli fanatic, so it wasn't on the menu, but I asked for broccoli, and I was able to get broccoli for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I had broccoli and eggs. I had broccoli instead of chips for my sandwich. So they're pretty much help cater to your requirements.
It's like a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, and the food was very good,
Yeah, that's the way it was in Augusta, Georgia, too, because, again, there's so many veterans that have special diet requirements. I mean, you've got potential dialysis patients, blood pressure. So they have to watch all these different nutritional values. So you do, even though you might be on a specific diet, you still have choices, and the dietitian will make sure that you get what you can have.
Yep, I do agree with that, because some of the things they wouldn't let me have, the double chocolate cake, the strawberry cheesecake, all of those, they're like, excuse me, Mr. Ben, I don't think so. But overall, it was a great experience. The other thing that I liked is that it's like the opportunity to expose yourself to different technologies. In West Palm, they had a room that had all the CCTVs in it. We had the opportunity to go into a shop and do some woodwork. I made a great a belt, and I did I want to call it a stencil. It was made out of a metal, and we took a hammer and we etched it in there, and then we built a frame and then dyed it, and it was a great hands-on, and I hadn't done that crafting work for a long time, so it got me exposed to a bunch of stuff. And the nursing team that in West Palm, great group of nurses there, they went over my medicines, taught me how to use the script talk, and then at the same time we had other features where we exposed ourselves to a full medical review. So we saw the general doctor, we saw a psychologist, we saw the eye specialist, and they evaluated all the requirements, and that became part of the overall lesson plan for my stay when I was at the. Isn't Dave? Do you think that's the way? I'm sorry, Vicki. Go ahead.
Oh, as also part of the nursing and medical devices, you've got talking scales, you've got talking blood pressure kits, you've got talking blood glucose monitors. So every medical situation is addressed. So there are so many devices out there to keep you independent at home. And if you have any questions, the nursing staff make sure that you are well trained before you are issued such a device. Just like in the different skill areas, you have to demonstrate safety on all equipment before you receive that device from the Blind Rehab Services.
Yeah, you're totally correct, Vicki. I forgot all about the nurses working with me and taught me how to use the blood pressure cuff, how to, at the time, I had to stick my finger, so I am a diabetic, so they made sure that I understood how to use the talking meter. Since then, I have the continuous monitoring, which, again, I was educated on how to read that on my phone. So not only are you getting skills on technology and stuff, but you're getting skills on how to take care of yourself, and also living skills on how to basically operate. One of the great things that when I was there, Dave, we had a gentleman that had not been out of his house in over a year, and we all got together. We called it the Diabetic Club, and every morning we would get up, and every evening we'd get up and we'd walk around the floor a few times, and we figured out how many laps around there was a mile, and it was just a great bonding experience with our brothers and our sisters.
Yeah, that pathway got pretty worn out there, that linoleum, walking around the nursery station. But yeah, that was a big thing. Still is, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. And one nice thing about the center in West Palm is they have nice walking trails. And once you get certified to leave the floor, you can basically walk around and see other parts of the hospital and the campus itself, too. But they do take the opportunity for somebody to make sure that you can do that safely. And that's part of the training.
Also in Augusta, Georgia, we have a couple-mile paved walking path that the mobility instructors clear the veterans on so that they can, usually it's a buddy system unless the veteran wants to walk independently, but they usually have the buddy system because you do develop 3 or 4 really good connections where you share your names and addresses and telephone numbers, and you maintain those contacts even after you leave the blind centers. So it's really kind of a bigger family growing experience.
That's so true, and you actually meet your brothers and sisters of other branches and stuff. One of the neat things, and I'm actually very proud, is I actually met my co-founder of Wisdom for the Blind. His name was Doug Cram. He and I actually met at the West Palm Beach Rehab Center, and 3 years later, we have this great organization with over 17 podcasts and webinars, and great volunteers and contributors like you guys yourselves. So a lot of good things come out of the rehab centers. So Dave, as an instructor, how many students did you have? How do you meet with the supervisors to get the path and sit with the veteran to lay that out? How did that, just walk me through that, please.
Well, In West Palm Beach, we have 15 beds at one time. I think they're down to 11 now, beds. But depending on how many instructors are working at the time, you're each assigned, 2 or 3 veterans that you can work with individually as team coordinators. So you're kind of like their case manager within the center part of the program. And then during the skill area, for example, in manual skills, we might have 5 or 6 people in that skill area at one time. So it'd be kind of like a group class. But you're only really responsible for the 2 or 3 veterans as far as their program is concerned. So you make sure their individual program is going the way they want to, and they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish. And if there's any concerns or issues, then you deal with that.
Vicki, how did you enjoy teaching the veterans?
I really, because the first of all is building the rapport with the veteran. Like, where are you from? What kind of things did you do before your visual impairment? And so you kind of build up this rapport, and then you kind of get to know them so that in this different skill areas that I instructed, like cooking. The one veteran that I worked with, he was a chef before he got macular degeneration. And so as the end of his program, he decided to prepare this very fancy French menu and served it to the entire veterans, 15 veterans in Augusta. And he gave us instructors little appetizers of it. And it was wonderful to see him get back to his forte. And it's just like when I was teaching computers, they would always say, after they learned the keyboard and everything, they'd always have a very difficult time telling me what they wanted to write. So I always would give them an idea. I said, well, write me a story. I said, it doesn't matter what you want to write about, or if you want to, do it about your military experience. And I got so many great stories from my folks that I should have put them together and published a book, that said Augusta Blind Rehab Center Veteran Stories. But there's just so much talent that everybody has. And, just with the visual impairment, they don't believe they still have this, and they truly, truly do.
That's definitely so true. And one of the things that I enjoyed, going to the rehab is because you can listen to other brothers and sisters, talk about what their day-to-day experiences are and learn from what they're doing. And also it makes your life a little easier. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. You feed off each other, that you encourage each other, you learn from different experiences, how you handle things. It's a good morale booster, good mental health building. So yeah, and that was the nice thing about manual skills. That was my favorite skill area because we had basically a group time going on, and they would encourage each other. They would joke with each other. They would help each other. So it's really, camaraderie was really amazing. So that was a lot of fun.
It definitely was. Well, it's time for us to check back into the studio and see what else is going on. You guys are doing great, and I appreciate you sticking with us and sharing the knowledge that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ben, and I'm with Vicki and Dave, and this is Insight to the VA from Fort Lauderdale, Florida Studios for Wisdom for the Blind, and we'll be right back.
Ice cream. All the ice cream in my house, in the world, and most of my stuffed animals.
My video games and, my phone.
What would you give for your freedom? Would you give your eyesight? Would you give ever seeing the sunset again? Would you give the ability to see your children's future? Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back, but it needs your help. Go to BVA.org to find out about how BVA's free programs and services, advocacy, education, peer support, scholarships, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to BVA.org to find out how you can make a difference. They fought for your independence, and by going to BVA.org, you can find out how to help these veterans regain theirs. Go to BVA.org today.
Looking for a fitness app that is accessible for the blind? Well, look no further. Revision Fitness is just what the trainer ordered. This audio and text-based fitness program has a wide selection of fitness options, including cardio, strength, yoga, balance, flexibility, and even progressive relaxation sessions. Download Revision Fitness on the App Store or Google Play, or visit revisionfitnessapp.com and get a free 14-day trial for new users. Find your fit with Revision Fitness. And as always,
Revision Fitness.
Let's change the way we look at it.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us. This is Ben, and this is Insight to the VA with our guests today, David and Vicki. Guys, thanks for sticking with us. So when we left, we were just going over the day-to-day operations that occur at the rehab centers. One of the things that I enjoyed is I was able to expose different tools such as my eye, the Orcam, the iPhone, etc. How do you feel, guys? Do the veterans like that? Is it a great experience for them to be able to touch different technologies and learn about it to see if that really works for them?
I think go ahead, Vicki. Go ahead.
I think it's wonderful because the technology keeps changing. Like when I was still instructing at the VA, we had the Parrot, which was a little handheld device that would tell you appointments, people's names and telephone numbers and addresses. And now we're up to Apple Watches, Apple iPhones, Victor Readers.
The Victor Reader,
the technology keeps changing. Correct, David?
Yeah, you're right. Oh man, the Parrot, that brings back memories. Yeah, and I think, the majority, in my experience, the majority of the people that come into the program have heard about one of those devices and want to learn more about them. And then some of them see it and they really love it, and some of them see it and say, well, that's not really for me. So, but
it's so true, and there's so much technology. One of the things that we always point out that there's so many technologies that, one technology might not be good for one veteran versus the other. And that's why you're at the rehab center or you're working with your VIST or your pros coordinator, they kind of compare to see if that product's going to be good for you. So just because Ben got it doesn't mean that David gets it. It has to fit the model and make sure that that's going to be a great tool for you. Is that true?
That's very true. And that's what's nice about the blind rehab centers is they usually have that technology available so that you can try it out, see if it works for you, and see the pros, the cons, and see if it's going to do what you want it to do.
And that's so true. One of the things I enjoy, the new chief over at the West Palm Rehab Centers, Mr. Gavino, and he and I have worked together for several years, and I enjoy talking technology with him. We were looking at a few different wearable glasses, Meta and the Orcam and all kinds of different things. And we like comparing them and talking about it. And it just is a great opportunity for me to learn things. And, the Meta glasses in my eye just talked about a new relationship, getting that together.
One of the things that we talked about, Ben, in West Palm Beach before COVID is we were going to work on setting up one of the classrooms as a smart room. And so that you can control the lights, you couldn't really control the thermostat, but like a mock thermostat or an alarm system, and make it all voice activated. And,
that's a great thing.
Yeah.
My whole house is a smart house.
Yeah, Vicky's house is smart too.
And we understand why yours isn't. We understand, right, Vicki?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Well, Vicky's house is a smart one in that family.
But no, we tie into Alexa so we can control all the lights and TVs and stuff. So it becomes very useful, especially when you're having vision impairment or blindness, to be able to talk and get the AC adjusted and stuff like that. I think that's a great idea to get that done. So, anything that you guys think that we should talk a little bit more before we move on, other than if you're interested in participating in one of the rehab centers, you need to talk to your VIST coordinator. And they have all kinds of great programs, from tandem bikes to, cooking. So that's one of the things that I remember is when they had the cooking classes, they'd bring them in at lunchtime, and man, we'd have cake and brownies, all kinds of things that they made in the cooking shop. So it was great. So
I think one thing that we could talk about that hasn't been brought up yet, and maybe Vicki can explain. Vicki, when somebody wants to come in with a dog, how does the blind center handle that, and how does the hospital? What do they require as far as paperwork and all that goes?
That's a good subject.
The dogs in Charleston, because the VA requires that the veterans submit the yearly vaccine shots, because the VA will pay for that. And if the dog is on a special diet, the VA will pay for the food, and they will also pay for the vaccines of the service dog. And it's got to be one of the approved the dog services that is recognized by the VA as a
training facility.
Correct. And so
that service dog has to be certified through one of their preferred training organizations by the VA.
Correct. Because a lot of people will try to bring their dogs in, and the dogs are not controlled. And the people that worked within the VA, they would come to me, and I would give them the list of approved dog guide services for the VA. And there's only so many questions you can ask a veteran about, or any person about their dog. So you have to be very, very careful. the dogs, all these records have to be shared with the blind center they're wanting to go to. And also, there's certain VAs that only do certain kinds of training. Not everybody does the tandem bike training. So your VIST coordinator has to find out which center is actually doing that. It's just like in Cincinnati, Ohio, they only take certain veterans that they are trained to provide these specialized services for. So there's a lot of criteria that your VIST coordinator has to go through and make sure that the fit is right and that, the dog is friendly. And because some of the dogs are not as well trained as they could be. So sometimes the family has to come and get the dog. It's just one of the things that
and that's so true. And one of the things to remember is that you might have 10 to 15 different veterans and you might have 5 dogs there. So they have to be able to get along with each other. And
correct.
Understanding one of the things is understanding the programs that each of the rehab centers offer. And if you go into the va.gov website and if you go to blind services, you'll get a list of all the rehab centers there, and you can go in and see what courses are offered. Because, for example, tandem biking, I believe, is only in is it in Chicago into Illinois area, if I'm not mistaken. And, that becomes very interesting to understand what programs that that each one of them offer. Just like West Palm doesn't utilize their shop anymore right now, but some of the other locations do use their shop. So understanding what programs are available is always important.
That's why it's so important for the VIST coordinator to do a real good assessment to get a good understanding of what the veteran thinks they would be interested in and looks for.
That is important, and that assessment. So, I would say that if you're interested in going to the rehab center, the first thing to do is to get your VIST coordinator looped in, or if you have a bros visit to talk to them about it. But understanding the different technologies, very useful. And then, going to the rehab center to learn how to use that technology is important, because there's a lot of great stuff out there.
We had a lot of VIST coordinators in the West Palm area that would bring their veterans who think they might be interested in the program. So they would actually bring them for a day for a visit, and they would run through a little quick introduction to the skill areas to help them decide, this is for me, or no, I'm not interested. So,
my VIST coordinator is April out of Fort Lauderdale. And when I first got involved with the rehab center 4 years ago, one of the things that I wanted to utilize was the ORCAM. And I didn't know if the ORCAM would work for me. I didn't understand, because that's a big investment in time and also technology. So I actually did go to the rehab center in West Palm for one day and played with it, and to see if it was really in the direction that I needed, and found out it was. And then we structured the training course based on that. So I kind of had the direction of where we were going before I made the decision. Well, that was the cat. And there's nothing we can do to take that out of the video. So
just ignore it.
Enjoy that one. Thank you. So moving on, Dave.
Well, one of the things that to get started with the VIST, Ben, is that if when you become legally blind, and you're an outside veteran, it's best to contact the VIST Coordinator directly, and that's what I preferred, because I would make an appointment to meet with that veteran and have the signed copy and documentation of their outside ophthalmologist, optometrist, and then I could write a form out and get them approved quickly as a Category 4, because as soon as veterans are declared legally blind, they don't have to pay for services for the VA. Because the first thing they then have to start doing is, once they receive that catastrophic disabled, just because of their vision, I mean, it's not like you're at the end of your rope being catastrophic disabled, but it allows you the benefits to get services from the VA without making payments, because go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, being classified as a Tier 4 is very important, and the VIST Coordinator is one of the key people to get that done for you, because it opens up a bunch of more tools, such as the rehab center. Also, medicine copays, the medical for care with the VA. You don't have to do the means analysis. There's all kinds of things, and understanding, and getting that tier level 4 to see if you meet it, and getting that is a big part of that. It's very important that I think you start with your VIST Coordinator, and the VIST Coordinators, there's one pretty much in every Chapman area, and getting to know them and getting them registered into the program is very important. What we're going to do is we're going to check in with the studio right now and talk to Allie and see what's happening in the studio, and then we're going to come back. So stick with us, and we're going to roll into Allie. Allie, how you doing today?
Thank you, Ben, and to our listeners, thank you for dropping in today to listen to InSight to the VA with our host Benjamin Keeley. On Thursday, September 26th, the New York Yankees won their 21st AL East title. However, out of all of them, this was their most unique one. New York beat the Baltimore Orioles in a 10-1 victory, as they clinched their own division crown, which is their third in the last 6 years. The Yankees are trending in the right direction, as they are attempting to snap a 14-year World Series drought. As the Yankees went 5-8 against the Orioles this season, and were slightly better than the Boston Red Sox going 7-6, this is the first time that the Yankees have not dominated and have not had a winning record, but have still won an AL East title as they finished the regular season 26-26. In our next story, on September 9th and 10th, scientists and engineers were tasked with testing NASA's Lunar Environment Monitoring Station instrument suite in a sandbox of simulated moon regolith at the Florida Space Institute's Exolith Lab at the University of Central Florida. The Lunar Environment Monitoring Station, also known as LEMS, is an instrument package that has the ability to operate both day and night and will carry 2 University of Arizona-built seismometers to the surface to perform long-term monitoring for moonquakes and meteorite impacts. This has been Ellie with Wisdom for the Blind. Thank you to our listeners and the Wisdom for the Blind studio. Now back to you, Ben.
96 years old, but the stories that he told were like something from a Hollywood movie.
Hi, this is Mike Byer, retired Army First Sergeant and Executive Director for Operation Song. Do you love a good story and great music? Then head over to the App Store or Google Play and download our Operation Song app. The Operation Song app is filled with patriotic songs and videos containing the stories of our nation's heroes. You can also see more great content on our YouTube page, and don't forget to like us on social media.
A torpedo hit his ship, and to this day still lives with. The fact his buddies died, but somehow he survived.
Veterans deserve as much help as they can get. They put their lives on the line for their country, and yet there's still an ongoing mental health crisis among military veterans that needs to be addressed. Well, if you're a veteran who wants the support of fellow veterans and to support fellow veterans, join Wisdom for the Blind's Cup of Joe virtual coffee and chat. It's low-key, fun, and gives veterans an outlet to talk with others who fully understand what they're going through. Get connected at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/cupofjoe.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB Radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Allie, thank you very much for that great information. It's always great to check in with the studio and see. Hey, Dave and Vicki, thanks for sticking with us. So, we talked to 3 segments here about all kinds of different things. One of the things that I get all the time when I talk to veterans is that they're scared to wander out to the BRCs and expose themselves. I can, from my heart, I was the same way. I was like, well, I don't have the time. It's a commitment. It's this. I got my daughter. I got this. I could find every excuse in the world. But one of the things that helped is I did go visit Gavino. We did look at the OrCam. I saw that it was going to be a great tool for me. And I took the time and I made the investment in myself. And that investment is also for the family too, because it makes life a lot easier. What do you guys think when you talk to your veterans? Are they gun shy or a little hesitant to pull the string on that? What do you think, Vicki?
In the years that I've worked at the VA, that's usually the first thing that they're really nervous and wondering how they're going to get from the dorm room to my office. And it's like, I will come get you at your dorm room and we will work on it. And that they also get background from the orientation and mobility O&M instructor, but everybody is there to support each other, whether it's the instructors, the other veterans, because didn't you find, Ben, that the older, more experienced veterans would help out the newbies coming in the door for the first time, and they were kind of nervous and didn't know what to do, when to do, how to do?
Oh, I think that is true. And one of the nice things about the rehab center is it's in a cycle. So not everybody starts at the day one. It's not like first day of school. So you have people coming in and out and graduating all throughout the period. So it works out real good. And, I just have to tell people, they have great programs. One of the things on the weekends they had where you could bring your spouse in, and they had workshops for the spouses. So the spouses, can be recognized and get some training too. We always have to remember that the caregiver and the spouse is a big part of life and a big part of making things easier for you and for the family. So the rehab center is getting involved in making sure that there is, a workshop to get them oriented to what you just learned and things like that. So I do agree with what you're saying, Vicki. In closing, Dave, do you have anything that you think that you really want to emphasize on?
Well, I would agree that a lot of veterans, that's the first thing they got to overcome is just get out there and try it. They're not alone. They're not the only blind person in the world. They're not the only blind veteran in the world. And also, I'd like to point out that in a lot of the centers, they have blind instructors. So when they come in and they see Vicki doing something or me doing something, it's kind of hard for them to say, I can't do it because I can't see when we're doing it. So that's a big plus.
That's true. And we didn't bring that up in the start. Both Vicki and you are vision and blind.
Right.
And,
correct. Yeah.
And Vicki, you have a service dog. Dave, you used to have a service dog, but I don't think you have one anymore. But
I do not. No.
But so not being able to use that as an excuse is great, because you're sitting down there with the instructor, and Dave and I worked together on my first iPhone training when I was there, and he taught me a lot of things. The selfie, was the trick one, because I kept on breaking the iPhone when I took my picture. That's beside the point. But anyway, we've talked about a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, and it was just an opening to what the rehab centers and what the VIST coordinators can do. In closing, I really recommend that you get involved with your VIST coordinator. Tell them, hey, this is the problem that I have. What do you think we can do to fix it? If it's, I want to listen to podcasts, I want to read books, if I want to track different things, if I want to use a Victor reader to do this, understand and let the VIST coordinator or the bros what your problem is, what you want to achieve. I want to learn how to cook baked potatoes. And then let it be part of the plan and get to one of the rehab centers. You got 13 rehab centers in the United States, all over. The veteran can go to whichever rehab center he or she wants to go to. And it's based on what you want to learn. And not every rehab center covers the same topics. So understanding what you want to learn, and then with the bros or the VIST, find out which rehab center is going to be the best fit. And then apply and get it done. There is life after blindness. And as a veteran, you have a lot of resources that you can go to. And the blind rehab centers are just one of many. So in closing, Vicki, anything that I left out?
Nope. I think we did a great job, and I hope all the veterans out there, if they hear this message, that they truly do get a hold of their visual impairment service team coordinator, VIST coordinator, and get involved, because it is a worthwhile program. Thank you so much, Ben.
Oh, my pleasure. Dave, any closing remarks there?
Nope. I would encourage all the blind veterans to reach out to the VIST coordinator and tell other blind veterans you might come across too, because maybe they don't know anything about the program. So spread it around.
You have to remember our slogan: share the wisdom, tell a friend. One of the things I want to point out to you is that you can get a hold of Dave or Vicki or myself by sending an email to info@w4tb.org. That's info@w4tb.org. And somebody on the team will get back to you. Or if you want to just chat to Vicki or Dave, I know you wouldn't want to chat to me, but you can address it to them, and they'll be glad to. It will get routed to them, and they'll answer you. Remember that we have just launched a brand new podcast. It's coming out this month, and it's called InSight to the Eye, and it's one of the best series that we've launched. And it talks about all different types of eye disease, and we call it the WHO. What is it? How does it deal with it? And what are my options? InSight to the Eye, the WHO. Look for it on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all the places that you get your podcast. And remember, we're here to share the wisdom. And thanks again to Dave and Vicki for not only being with us on the show today, but being volunteers for wisdom. We appreciate it. All you guys out there, tell a friend, share the wisdom. Come back to the next episode. This is Ben from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. See you soon. Thanks.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
Wisdom for the Blind's virtual support group, Path to Wisdom, where we invite the visually impaired and blind, as well as their family members, to share their stories and gain support and understanding. Living with limited sight or no sight at all is not easy, and meeting with those who understand that position is important for being able to navigate life. Path to Wisdom is every fourth Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join today at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/thepath.
You've been listening to InSight to the VA. The VA is there for veterans like us, but sometimes it can be difficult for people to navigate. And that's why we're here. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, rate, and review. And make sure to tell a friend or two. That would help as well. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International. From the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, this is InSight to the VA, signing off.